A psychopath, he says he wants me. Am I awake? Am I asleep? No, am I dreaming? Okay, today's thought of the day to be released on October 3rd is I thought it was 50 minutes one about the art of realism induced horror. More specifically, I'm going to be talking about a Japanese independent video gaming um, company or video gaming man. Correct me if I'm wrong in that two verse in it, but there's this guy out there called Chilla's Art. And Chilla's Art does, we call him Chilla's Art because I don't know if Chilla's Art is I believe it's a him. I believe it's a he that's created it. I'm going to say Chilla's Art anyway. Um, or a. Their main concern is doing realism horror games. But which I mean, they're horror games where it's scarier because it's what happens, especially in Japan. Well, I guess it happens worldwide for all females, all women, and they're basically the plot of most of them. I think three of them basically similar. You play in each three of them as a you play as a female main character. There's the closing shift. So far, there's the three main ones: is the closing shift, the karaoke, and the parasocial. And basic plots of each three games are the closing shift. You play a barista, and you go from your apartment, go to the barista, go to essentially Starbucks, Costa Coffee, Rosa Coffee, you know, tea leaf, you know, your barista. You go to essentially Starbucks, work at Starbucks, and then the first few days you're learning how to make coffee. But then there's someone following you in your house. There's this stranger. You don't know who he is, don't know why he's stalking you, but you're getting stalked. In karaoke, you play as a girl called, I believe, I just literally had it up here. Maybe because I want to make sure I'm not actually going around. In the karaoke, you play as a girl called Mira, and a high school girl called Mira. You and your best friend Monica are going to a 24-hour karaoke bar. A karaoke, it's all the rage, a karaoke or bang, and Marika, your best friend, she realized she lost the keys, left the keys at school. So then she goes to pick it up, and then you see text about her and trying to figure out what happened to her. And then it's essentially just as well happened to her, if you can save her. And then parasocial is, as the name kind of suggests, about the parasocial dynamic between VTubers, about Twitch streamers, about the online and then the outline. It's been many a thing. Always been like celebrity stalking has been a thing since the 80s, 70s. That's what caused John Lennon to get shot because some people, they don't see celebrities as people. They don't see their celebrities as humans. They see them as idols. Hence the idol culture. They see them as basically like gods, so they worship them. And then they create little names for their fandoms, and they're like, ah. And if you talk bad about them, if you talk bad about, say, Blackpink, if you're like, oh, the Idol wasn't a good show, then there'll be some people think, oh, I'm going to show, oh, Jenny wasn't the Idol. So I mean, you're bad mouthing Jenny. Then they'll hate you, and all a bunch of people, and it's this whole, this, can I say, parasocial, it's this whole dynamic that they don't see the people. They don't see that it's just a human being, so they think the human being belongs to them. Like the case, I forgot what the name. I think it's like there's Mark Chapman who tried to Taxi Driver tried to assassinate. I think tried to assassinate Ronald Reagan. And tried to assassinate Ronald Reagan in a position because he wanted Jodie Foster, who by that point I think she was like 8 to 12 years old. He wanted Jodie Foster to love him. Um, and his case of people coming in, especially things called info info now, the literal stands are stalker fans are not called stands, they're called something else because stands are normal fans. In fact, stalker fans is named after the Eminem song Stan, which is about a man who stalks Eminem, tries to be with Eminem, eventually goes on to getting into committing a inadvertent murder suicide when the murder was, you know, the murder was planned, the suicide wasn't. The ones have drawn him to his death. And then in Bad Guy, when the sequel, yeah, no, it's sort of standard. The sequel is done. In Bad Guy, which is a huge again, I'm going to spoil that song, but like if you can hear it, um, basically in Bad Guy, it's Stan's brother that kidnaps and did the same thing with Eminem himself, and then Eminem gets haunted by the ghost of his conscience, and then that leads into the Marshall Mathers LP2. That's the impetus behind Marshall LP2. I believe Marshall LP2 is like the dying, like constant dying dream Marshall Mathers as he lies there drowning in a river, being crashed into. I believe that's the. Again, I haven't really listened to the full album, so I'm not going to be flat out saying, "Oh, like this is true, this is not true." No, no. But that's type of thing. Whole stalker culture, the fact that people think that just belong to them, not celebrities. Also, you've got these like things people who think women belong to them, and that just because they exist in the same impetus them, that the sense is belonging, the sense they can't tell what's real and what's different. Because odds are, when people go online, especially VTubers, VTubers by the very definition, if you don't know what a VTuber is, I'm pretty sure people who won't know what a VTuber is. Essentially, a VTuber is a video like stream. It's a streamer, but they don't want to be themselves, so they create an anime character. I think Hatsune Miku is the one. I don't quote me on that. If go in the comments if I'm wrong to say Hatsune Miku is not a VTuber, but I think she is. Essentially, essentially a VTuber is someone who is playing a character. So when you do like an anime 3D model, an anime 3D model is the streamer. This is so people just can choose a difference between them and the character. So this is fiction. And also the point of streaming is, which should be, you're just anyone can do it, anyone can go forth and create this. And you should be of the safety of a home, but there's nothing really safe, is there? And that's what I would call boils down to the fact that some people will be adamant. And these people are, I don't know if these people deserve, if you're going to stalk someone, if you're going to harass someone, um, I think you should get a talking to, but then you should also be forced to go into like therapy. You should be forced into like therapy, having like a dedicated therapist, like dedicated psychiatrist, just interview you and just find out why you have this dependency on strangers. That's my ethos because at the moment in time, like there's no real, especially as these games point out, as the closing shift points out, as Parasocial count points out. I don't think karaoke is about that. I think karaoke is a completely different version of it. It's not about the for going from a place to another place and being stalked by someone you don't know and trying to feel safe and knowing that there's a gaslighting thing, knowing that there's people in your house, people seeing you, people filming you in every aspect, which can happen. It was played for, and that sort of thing was played for laughs in, of all things, Taskmaster. Taskmaster had it was a series of Rod Gilbert, James A. Caster, so I think it was like series 7, I believe it was. And it was like a do the creep, like the priors, the creepiest priors. And what Gilbert did was he basically broke into the Taskmaster's house. I forgot his name. Greg broke into Greg's place, and he filmed Greg when he was sleeping. And this was like he's filmed just this guy sleeping, and that's what you need. That's why there's the impetus is the monster in the closet, because the closet, the doors they have, and nothing. You don't know what's behind it. That's why when you're a child, you basically fear what you can't see, especially when it's dark, because you got the monsters. And then that's your fear gonna get taken. Like Napoleon 14. And Napoleon had, is it Napoleon 14? They're gonna take me away. Ha ha he oh. He did a song. Napoleon 14 did another song where like he broke up with like someone or broke up with an animal, so he killed himself. That's actually like a song by Napoleon 14. He did a song about committing suicide. To basically bring it down to the realism horror. I think realism horror basically works now. If you do like a video game, if you do like a movie TV show, it's just you don't know when it's coming from. You know there's a dread. You know there's a terror. You know there's some. You know there may or may not be something there, and you can't tell. So when something does happen, it's scary. And that's what I think horror, especially like scary horror, should be. Not, don't telegraph it. Never ever telegraph it. Never do the noise. No, no. Just one wild and one free. That's what I'd say. I would say if you are going to like try and play those games first, I would recommend playing Parasocial over the closing shift because because the main difference is of spoilers. Main difference is both a good ending and a bad ending of Parasocial are both good. Like they, unless you mess up royally, both concrete endings end with you not in trouble. I'm not going to go further into what I mean by that. So I don't want to spoil it for you, just so you know both endings won't be in trouble. And here's the thing: I wouldn't mind like playing out. I mean, this is just right dig. Like, is it kind of does build into it. So yeah, this series, as you can tell, like what I find it interesting is the series so far. Also bleeding into the Stalker thing as well. When I reviewed Paprika from 1st October, Perfect Blue is also about like a stalker difference between an idol and a human being, and thinks the idol always loves them. That's neither here nor there. So what would I say? What I do like so far for these 3 days I've done 3 different things. So October 1st was a movie, Paprika. October 2nd was a TV show, Tales from the Crypt. October 3rd, today's thought of the day would be about video games. And that's exactly what you should try to experience. The fact that you talked about horror is a vast horror. It's a vast subject. It's a stupendously vast subject. It goes for all mediums, and sometimes I might also go real life horror. But I don't know if that kind of doesn't. I don't know if that kind of like skirts around like from spooky to depressing. Whatever. 31 days in this month. There's 31 videos, so we go back and forth. But I can perfectly say to you, it looks like we're running out of time. And this has been the video 3rd of October on Realism, Induced, Horror, video games, specifically Chilla Arts and the stalking culture of it. So goodbye.